Hi witchlings, welcome back to my channel. It's me, your local chaotic witch hunt, and today I am doing my annual reflection on my practice and my channel. The last one I did was in 2022, and I usually like to do it around the time that I get my little happy birthday notification on YouTube. I'm actually gonna be watching this because I usually don't watch these videos, but I am for this one. Wow. Okay, so this was back when I was still living with my parents. I'm not anymore, completely different setup.
Good morning, ladies.
This is also before I got my lav mic. I can tell immediately. So, immediate differences just in my practice. I no longer worship Hades, which is okay. It was just kind of something that I moved away from. I didn't do so publicly because it wasn't a big thing. It was just I started focusing more on my saint and spirit work and my Italian American folk magic, and with that, my focus kind of went to saints and spirits and Roman deities in a lot of ways. I love this setup though. I still am really proud of it. 2 years ago, wait. Did I not do a video of this last year? Okay, so this was 2 years ago, but I figured I might as well do one 2 years later because a lot has changed even in those 2 years. And I thought I did one last year, apparently not. That's okay. This is 2021, so I just moved to Colorado. I was a whole mess.
Good morning, Lord Hades. I can use some rosemary incense.
So I don't use a lot of stick incense anymore. I actually will blend my herbs together with a resin or with something along those lines, and I'll just burn it on a charcoal tab. What? Look at how sparse my setup is. Holy shit. There is nothing on that wall. Look at this. Decorations. What the fuck? That's insane. I had also just moved across the country, so like I totally understand. But oh my god. I also use lighters now. I still love matches. I'm just like so, when I need sulfur, I'll use a match. Otherwise I'm using a lighter. Oh my god, look at how tiny I was. Dude. This was before I started doing pole all the time. And I was like skinny little spaghetti arms. And my arms, they're still kind of small, but like they got some muscle on them. They're toned up. Nice intro.
Hi, witchlings. You saw a little bit of...
I'm so glad I got a lav mic because I hate this like space mic. Ugh.
my morning routine. Some people asked to, see, I guess, a little bit more of it than normal. I figured that we're about due for a video updating my practice. It's changed a lot.
Love the Himatian. So one thing you'll always notice in all my videos is I'm always wearing my grandma's cornell. And in this video I'm wearing it too, which is why I'm like, that's just some things never change.
A lot in the past year, and I remember when I first sat down and, went through everything I'm reading, everything that I'm studying right now, who I work with, where my practice is at.
So that was the format for this video 2 years ago. We're gonna be using the same format, apparently. But I literally, I haven't looked at this video in 2 years, so I needed a bit of a refresher.
That was like a year ago. It's been a crazy fucking year, for lack of a better term. And I feel like it's about time to just kind of refresh you guys on what my life looks like outside of this camera, because I do a lot of educational content.
Does my voice sound different to you guys? Does it sound higher? I don't know. Maybe I'm just louder, but I feel like my voice is different. I also know that I sound like, I will sound different to myself. And the way when I talk, I sound different to myself than I do on camera. So maybe it's just that, but I'm like, who is this?
I believe that a year ago today, or around this time, I was working with Lady Freya, I was working with Nath, I was studying, starting to study Italian folk magic.
Okay. So that was 4 years ago. No. 3. 3 years ago, that's what I was doing. I was working with Freya, I was working with Nath, and I was studying Italian folk magic. What am I doing now in this video?
Still with a very kind of eclectic, polytheistic view, and pantheons and all that. Since then, I've continued my work with studying Italian folk magic.
That is still, yeah, that's still what I study. That's just what I do.
I'll identify as a folk practitioner, studying Italian folk magic,
So now, identification for me is so important. Now I identify as an Italian American folk witch, or an Italian American folk practitioner and a folk witch. And if you're interested to know like why I delineate those, I've talked about it in the past, and I'll probably elaborate more on it later in this video. Hold on. Firstly, my dog's barking. Benji! Chill the fuck out. Did I just say Stegadia?
A folk practitioner, studying Italian folk magic, studying Strigonaria.
Damn. Bitch was still using the wrong term. Wrong term, bitch. Go back. Try again. Grimace, that's not the word.
The kind of reconstructionist stuff that you will see in Raven Grimace's books.
I guess I was studying it, but not studying it to implement it. For a while I was reading it just to like, to an extent, familiarize myself with it. And I think this was before I had the entire thing where it was like, I went to my mom and I'm like, this is what this book is saying. And my mom was like, I don't know anything about that.
I have a full ancestor, practice. And since that video, a lot of those deities that I was talking about working with are no longer around.
Mm-hmm.
Freya, who I thought she was a patroness.
That was a sore moment for me. I honestly, I've talked about this in the past, but I think it's so hard to figure out like a patron or a patroness god or goddess. Because historically, patronage would be like your job, or you just devote yourself to them. And that's the thing too, is like I call my Diana my patron goddess, but like in reality, I don't know if she is or not. She probably is, but like I just devoted myself to her and I said, you know what, I like you. You feel right. Do I know? And that's the thing, is I think there's so much hype around patron deities. Who's your patron, And it's okay to like not know or not be sure or have it wrong. I do think Diana is like patron god, just based off the Italian American stuff and a lot of other things. I can't say that with 100% certainty, but at the same time, that's just kind of what I chose. Like, also my shoulders are all bunched up. I look like let's calm down. I devoted myself to Diana, whether or not she was my patron goddess, even though I believe she is. Even if she wasn't, that was my decision. I chose to devote myself to her. And I'm still in devotion to her 2 years later. It was earlier in 2021 that I was like, oh, Diana's here. And it was around that time that like all the Italian American folk magic stuff really started kicking off. 6 or 7 months at this point in this video into studying it in a way that reflects me knowing I want to like that's what I want my practice to look like. That's what I want, and reconnecting. So 7 to 8 months in the reconnection journey, I devoted myself to Diana before I truly went in there. Nice.
It's okay that she wasn't left to make room for Diana. Diana is ancient Roman, ancient Italian.
I say ancient Italic now, and I'll tell you why I say that. Because Italian was a unified nation for a while, so like the Italian identity is fairly new. Diana is older than that, but what she was probably influenced by some of the ancient Italic tribes that lived in Italy. What is now Italy, in different areas and kingdoms. So Italic to me makes more sense. She also could have easily been Rome and Greece probably, well, Rome especially, because they just colonized everything, was definitely influenced by Hellenic and also maybe Etruscan, but I also believe to an extent that the local people and the people worshiping Diana definitely were like, wait, somebody new? Let me just throw a bunch of like these rituals that originally go here into this goddess's pool. I don't know if that makes sense. It's syncretism, etc.
She is such a thick, multifaceted being in a lot of ways.
I still agree with that. I think my deity work has chilled out a lot. And I originally started chilling out here, but like I love doing things in devotion to Diana, but at this point, like I live and do things in devotion to Diana, to my spirits, to La Madonna, to my saints. So my devotion isn't just for Diana. My practice, my work, is about all of the intimate relationships I have with all of these entities that I work with. Because I'd be lying if I said that like Saint like Mary of the Miraculous Medal or La Madonna or Saint Mary wasn't as prominent of a role in my practice as Diana is. They both hold the same like space, and so that's kind of similar to some of the plant allies I work with and some of the saints I work with. And so it's like my devotion is no longer singular. I no longer believe that you are just devoted to a deity. I believe you can be devoted to a lot of things. I believe I am devoted to learning, to practice, to my spirits, to learning, to studying Italian American folk magic, and devotion and dedication. This is something I learned in a class that I'm taking with Mary Beth Bonifiglio, is that devotion is not the same as dedication. Dedication means showing up every day, doing it, showing up, putting something towards it, whereas you can be devoted to a lot of things and never dedicate any time. And I think that also changed my opinion in my head of how I interact with spirits, because I am dedicated to my ancestors and my ancestral veneration practice differently than, and it feels different and looks different than devotion to La Madonna and to Diana. But in a lot of ways, I am also dedicated to La Madonna and like dedicated to elements of my, so it's like these two things that I'm trying to balance out more in my practice. And I don't think devotion holds as much power in the word as dedication, because you can devote yourself to a lot of things, but it doesn't mean anything if you never show up.
I think Hernanos is still around to an extent.
That bitch gone. We're a full spirit worker now, bitch. Let's go.
I refer to him as Luciferos now.
That didn't last long. I tried that. What I realized very early on for me personally is that my ancestors have no interest in anything in that region. Any area with the term Lucifer, even if it's like the Iranian, no. And I didn't mesh well with the Iranian kind of myth and folklore. It didn't work for me, and that's okay. So I didn't stay there long.
As the Iranian horn god, but I think that it's not in the same way.
That I knew. That's the thing, it's like I did want to bring that aspect, Iranian horn god, into my practice, but it never really fit. It never really fit, and that's okay. It just didn't fit. It just didn't work for me.
I still think very fondly of him. I have like a little set up for him with his ear and some bones, but very honestly, Diana kind of trumps every other presence of
Deity-wise, it's mostly true. I felt like Diana was going to be the most important aspect of my practice, and what I realized throughout these past 2 years is that my ancestors are the most important aspect of my practice. My ancestral herbal allies, my ancestral veneration, my dedication to them. That is, in essence, what drives me to write, to create content, to do the things I do, to be an Italian American folk practitioner. I am wholeheartedly guided by my ancestors, and they are kind of the centerpiece next. And so, centerpiece, and then it builds out from there.
Trumps every other presence of deities. I'm still, polytheist. I'm still an omnist. I worship Haiti.
I don't know if I'm a polytheist. Probably. I have multiple divine beings and spirits that I offer. You know what? Kitchen Toad posted a reel recently talking about dual faith. And dual faith is like, let me see if I can pull it up, because that is what I am. I saw that and I'm like, I didn't even realize there was a word for it. Thank you. And that is kind of what I wanted to mention, because I stopped calling myself a pagan or a polytheist or anything along those lines a couple years ago, because it just didn't make sense. Because I'm not a pagan. I'm a folk practitioner and a folk witch. Let me see if I can find the dual faith video. Thank you, Kitchen Toad, for making this. It's a very complex topic, and dual faith is a well-attested to cultural and spiritual phenomenon throughout history, especially in places where Christianity began to set its roots. We have multiple records of folks believing in both God and local spirits or nature deities throughout Europe, and many more examples of pre-Christian gods being adopted into Christianity or being syncretized with both Catholic and Orthodox saints. A famous example is Bridget. Dual faith is a cultural phenomenon before it is a religious phenomenon. Rather than being a perfect adherence to both Christian and pagan traditions, dual faith is a recognition and practice of beliefs which suit the individual within their specific context. In short, it's an adherence to the practices which make sense to us, pulling from our cultural ancestry and popular religion in our current home. For witches, dual faith is a constant balancing act between the pagan and Christian spirits of our court. Some pagan spirits are amicable, whereas others will refuse to be housed in the same home as a saint. Certain saints are kind and do not mind the presence of pagan spirits in the home, while others will withdraw their blessings if the same petition is made to a pagan spirit. Some saints, like Saint Cyprian or Saint Columba, are known to have practiced dual faith in one way or another throughout their lives. So Kitchen Toad writes, dual faith makes sense to me as a folk witch, as my work involves mediating between two worlds. Yes. And so I plant a foot on the shore, a foot in the sea, and reach my hands up towards heaven. That is, in essence, what I practice and what I am. And I have a video called Understanding My Practice where I go a little bit more into the Italian American folk Catholic side of things, but in reality, dual faith is the word that describes me. I'm a dual faith folk witch. I hold multiple beliefs as true. I hold multiple facets of different faiths as true. And this is just something that was so natural to me, and so it just made sense because it's something my ancestors did and something your ancestors may have did. And it just makes sense as a diasporic practitioner of a wonderful place where the region was so heavily influenced by Greek, by Roman, by African, by Albanian, by Etruscan, and then by Christianity. Like, all these things came together in Italy in so many ways. And so it just kind of makes sense that my brain is like, yes, this.
Which was part of, you know, a little deal that I did to protect someone I care about. I've always wanted to work with Hades anyways, so it kind of worked out.
This is back before everyone knew I had a partner. And no one knew his name. Yeah, Ethan.
In my favor, or worship him at least. The majority of my practice has moved into folk magic, you know, worship of Hades, and working with Diana.
Were those the examples of folk magic? Because they don't necessarily fit. Not that they don't, but those weren't great examples for folk magic.
She really dominates a lot of my time.
She no longer dominates any of my time. If I ask her for help, she goes, figure it out yourself or talk to someone else. If I need hands-on, I go to my local spirits, my plant allies, spirits of the earth, a saint, or la Madonna. Cheers, bitches. I'm sorry, I'm cursing a lot in this video. This caffeine's making me queasy.
And, you know,
I look so uncomfortable in this video too. Look at me. This is definitely around the period where I don't think I was putting as much energy towards videos. I had just moved across the country. I didn't have a lot of space for myself yet, and I really should have taken a break, and I didn't. So that's me right now. That's me when I did this video.
You can tell, like, the deities I work with are kind of kept within the Romanish, Greekish pantheon.
So historically, that makes sense. I don't actually work with any divine beings outside of Roman or Greek parameters. I still keep Roman and Greek separate because I do feel like even though Rome took a lot from Hellenic influences, and this is also my opinion, I know a lot of people consider them the same, and that is okay. I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong, because the truth is there are many ways to look at it. For me, being Italian American, I feel as though the Roman deities are different because of, like, the influences include Hellenic, but also include other things. Similar to Hellenic, but I don't actually work with a lot of Hellenic spirits or deities. I mostly keep within the Roman area. That's just me.
You know, like, kind of stuff that I think, historically speaking, my ancestors probably would have done so.
This is a fun thing. Italy's large, okay? It's not a big country, but there's so many different regions, and most of those regions had no contact with each other. So realistically, I don't actually know for sure. Most of the areas in southern Italy had more Hellenic influences than Roman. I'm in the boot, so historically, Hellenic would have made more sense, but I felt pulled to Roman, so that's where I went. And also there's a lot of conversation about that as well.
Other things, working with Greek or Roman gods. I haven't
Stop saying Greek or Roman.
deviated that much. I think my ancestral practice has become one of the most important parts of my practice.
Still taking sippies. Is my chair squeaky?
What's focus? Talking about my
Okay.
ancestral practice. Yeah, for the most part, I think that I've been focused.
Terrible fucking lighting in this room. That's all I'm gonna. Terrible lighting in this basement. I had terrible lighting for so long.
Focusing a lot on that, my folk magic. I do want to share what I'm reading right now.
I get to share what I'm reading. Do I have to do witchy? I'm gonna do witchy. By the way, today I made a Bookstagram account. It's at Vulpes Reads, like fox, like Vulpes, red fox. If you are interested in seeing me talk more about fiction books and read more, please go follow it. I'm so excited. It's a little passion project. Let me get what I'm reading right now. Hold on. So starting off, this was a birthday gift to myself. It is a vintage copy of Italian Folk Tales by Italo Calvino. It was really hard to get this book. I'm absolutely in love with it. This is how I found out that the animal that I consider one of my familiars, a fox, has folktales in Italy, which I wasn't aware of. I thought that we had no conversations or folktales around foxes. We do. Yay. Yeah. Next is Witchcraft Medicine. This is a big, like, heavy book, taking a while to get through. It's by Claudia Müller-Ebeling, Christian Ratsch, and Wolf-Dieter Storl. This is the next one. The Witching Herbs, 13 Essential Plants and Herbs for Your Magical Garden by Harold Roth. This I am reading for my unfiltered review on Patreon, which I love. I haven't started this yet, but The Bones Fall in a Spiral by Mortellus, a necromantic primer. And finally, Black Madonna's Feminism, Religion, and Politics in Italy. This has a lot in it, so taking a little while to get through.
Plant Witchery. I love this book.
Okay, so Plant Witchery.
I love Julia Diaz. I've talked to her. It's just because it's right here. I am reading.
I gave up on Ovid, by the way.
Ovid, Metamorphosis.
I have that book somewhere. I haven't finished it. I could not keep it together while reading it.
Starhawk.
I didn't finish Spiral Dance either.
Ravenwolf for our critical reading month on my Patreon, because we have a book club on our Patreon. And I have a bunch of books that I haven't gotten to yet.
My Patreon is literally completely different. There's only 2 tiers now. Blog posts, vlog content, book club, etc. all found here. And yeah.
That I would love to share with you guys and talk. Been mostly in transition. In the past.
Yeah, we can tell you're in transition, babe. You look like you haven't slept in years. I love my former self, but this was such a rough time, and I know it was for me, and I appreciate that about her. I appreciate that she's showing it raw dogging it.
Transition, right before the transition, I had Freya and Morgan leave, and then I moved to Colorado.
Yeah, literally, that transition timed up with my moving to Colorado really insanely well.
And I think it was one of the best decisions I could have made. I am so inexplicably happy with where I am, with my practice, with the people around me.
That's still true.
And I'm just really enjoying it. I think that it was a really good decision. But I just am having a really good time. And I'm so proud of where I am. Other than that, you guys already know I wrote a book.
That book is still written. This is the US copy, Dusty, and the Polish copy. It's also going to be translated into Spanish and French. I always have links to purchase these in my bio. Why did they call me a C? I can't believe this is also one of those things where, like, I love this book. It was my first book. I'm still really proud of it, but I'm so different from who I was when I wrote this book, and I'm such a different practitioner now, but that's okay. No longer consider myself a neo-pagan. That's okay. Oh, there's a little crack here. That's a wait. I still love the Spells for Change for what it is, and a lot of people still tell me that it really helps them, and I think that's what matters. Even if I'm, sit here and I'm like, I could have made that book better now. I'm sure I could have. That's okay.
That's coming out late October in UK, India, Europe, because I think it's so important to learn about. I don't know, I think in the past year I've become a lot more comfortable with where I am. I feel like I'm on the right path. I was talking about how deity worship and deity work has become a part of a bigger whole. It's not just a large focus of my practice.
I still agree with that.
I think a lot more spells than I used to.
I mean, I do, but I don't. I also run a business now, and I'm fully an Italian American folk practitioner.
For some reason. I mean, nothing too fancy, mostly just protection.
I do a lot more money magic now than I used to. A lot of fucking money magic.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that I'm really proud of how far I've come in a lot of ways.
I'm even prouder of how far I've come now. So.
I'm not where I thought I would be at all.
Ooh.
And that's okay. I think the best things happen when we do the unexpected. Yeah, I mean, the TikTok account that I started, that was so, I didn't think it was gonna go anywhere. It's now at 1.3 million.
Jesus Christ.
And updated a lot on my TikTok too, and been very open and kind of about.
I'm no longer on TikTok, and that's a decision I stand by and I'm okay with, truly. I have put my focus into my in-person relationships, my in-person community, YouTube, Instagram, Patreon, and a business. And I've been a lot happier than I think I ever was when I was creating content for TikTok.
About worshiping Hades, working with Diana, with where I am.
I'm emphasizing that I'm really happy with where I am, which makes me think that I was anxious during this video. It feels like a little, like I'm trying to reassure myself. I was probably really, really homesick while filming this, if I'm gonna be honest. I was like plagued with missing home for the first year of being in Colorado. I missed it so bad. I still miss it, but not as intense. And there was a lot of grief happening and a grieving process that I don't think I ever talked about online, just because I wasn't even sure how to process it myself, let alone process it in front of an audience.
Still working that work-life balance out, you know?
Oh yeah. I was definitely stressed during this video.
Still trying to figure that out. Work-life school now. Because I'm back doing part-time college.
That did not happen. That did not happen.
To get a degree. But yeah, I mean, I've had found so many people that support me. Radical self-acceptance has brought me to the place where I can look around and say, yeah, I'm so happy I'm here.
Once again, I'm saying that I'm really happy a lot in this video. And I think there was a level of it that I was happy, but I also think I was really homesick and I was trying to convince myself that I was happy. I'm happy in Colorado. I'm glad I moved here, but I think that I wasn't okay for the first 6 months, and that's okay. I was moved away from the place I lived almost my entire life, and it was rough. And I think you can kind of see that in my videos. But the truth is that I would not have been able to take a 6-month break to process it. It was just something I had to deal with while I was continuing to create content. Even though I should have taken a smaller break, especially while moving across the country, I didn't. And that's kind of where I think I went a little wrong 2 years ago.
Like this is where I want to be.
I don't know if I believe that when I say that in this video in particular.
You guys get to come with me and see it. Really, I am. But yeah, a lot of people were noting too how much happier I look in my newer content, and
I do think that I have grown exponentially happier in my content, and I definitely believe that to be true. But I also think that I am a lot happier now than I was when I ripped up my entire life and moved across the country.
I am happier. You don't even know, you know? I'm just so woo! Continue to grow and learn.
Yep, continue to grow and learn. Okay, we get the idea.
So annoying.
Did not nail down my structure in videos yet. I also just kept talking. Stop talking. You only need to say you're happy once, then explain why. It's okay. It's definitely learned it over time. I mean, I feel like if you were watching this and you're looking at this video versus me now, you're gonna see the difference, but I still wanted to go in and kind of be like, practice, this is how it's different, and that's okay. I think that I like making these videos because It emphasizes that as practitioners, as people, as witches, we are continuously changing, continuously growing. No matter what, even if we think that we are really happy exactly where we are, everything could change tomorrow and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's okay, and things can change and it can be okay. And it doesn't have to be something where you're really, where it's like makes you less of a practitioner. But yeah, I can't believe it's been 2 years since I made that video. Can't believe it's been 3 years since I started my channel. Happy birthday, Frankie channel. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And remember to drink water or a liquid death, both works. This is not sponsored, by the way. That's me and my partner have been getting a lot of them. And sometimes I don't want to drink water. I want to drink water, but with flavor. If you want, you can like, subscribe, comment, but absolutely no pressure. Remember to, I already said drink water? Yeah, Siate Benedicte.